ladies and gentlemen. So today we're going to continue our discussion of how to solve these systems of equations using elimination. But now we're going to, again, add a little bit of a twist in there. When we did our work with eliminations before, it was pretty nice because one of the variables always had same coefficient, opposite signs. Well, that doesn't always happen. So we have to know what to do in a case where I don't have the same coefficient, different signs. So for example, if I look at A, I have 5x, 2x, I have 6y and 3y. Neither of those are the same coefficient, opposite sign. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and multiply. It's kind of like getting a common denominator with fractions. I need one of these two to be the same. All right, and the less amount of work you have to do to get there, the easier it is. So 5 and 2, 2 doesn't go into 5, 5 doesn't go into 2. But when I look here, I can get 3y to be a 6y. I have to multiply it by 2. Well, when we're doing things with equations, the entire equation would have to be multiplied by 2. And I actually need it to have opposite signs. So I'm going to multiply this whole equation, everything in it, by -2. All right, so let me start. I'm going to do that first. So this is going to be -2 times 2x is -4x. -2 times 3y is -6y. -2 times -5 is 10. Now, just to make it a little easier, I'm going to rewrite the first equation down here so that they're right next to each other. One right on top of the other here. Now it's like what we worked on the other day. I have the y's can cancel out. They can be eliminated. So I'm going to add these two together. -4x and 5x is 1x. If you write it as just x, that's even more correct. -6y and 6y, those are going to cancel out. 10 and -8 is going to give me 2. So I now know, right, because 1x is the same as x is 2. So again, now I can go back into one of the original equations. I don't care which one you pick. I'm going to pick the first one just because it comes first. So 5x plus 6y equals -8. I know x is 2, so I'm going to put that in here. So 5 times 2 plus 6y equals -8. 5 times 2 is 10. So now I have an equation I can solve for y. So I'm going to subtract 10 from both sides. 6y is -18. Divide by 6. So y is -3. All right, so we now know the solution is 2, -3. So if you don't have a variable that you can cancel out immediately, eliminate immediately, you have to multiply one or both of the equations by something to be able to do that. All right, so when I look over here at B, I have 9r plus 9r and a 3r, a q and a 2q. So I can get rid of either one, but I have to do something to one of the equations first. I'm going to choose to get rid of the q, just because I want to. So in order to do that, the q, this one has a 1, this one is a 2. I need them to both have 2's. So I can multiply, and I need it to be a negative, because this one's a positive. So I can multiply this whole equation, I'm going to put it over here just so you can see it better, by a -2. So -2 times 9 is -18r. -2 times q is -2q. 13 times -2 is -26. All right, I'm going to rewrite the other one just so that it's a little bit neater. So now I can add my equations together just like we practiced before. So -18r and 3r is -15r. Q's are going to cancel. -26 and -4 is -30. Divide by -15. So r is 2. Now that I know what r is, I can go back and I can figure out what q is. And again, if you're going to do that, you have to go back into one of the original equations. So again, I'm going to use the first one. 9r plus q equals 13. I know r is 2. 9 times 2 9 times 2 is 18. I'm going to subtract 18 from both sides, and I'm going to get Q is -5. So the solution to this one, I know to put the R first just because of the way they wrote it up here, is 2, -5. All right, let's try another one. Again, this is new. I understand that. So when I look here, I have a 4x and a 3x. I have a 2y and a 3y. So in this case, this is an example of where I'm going to have to multiply both equations. So the first thing you have to decide is, do you want to get rid of your x or your y first? And it doesn't matter. Okay? I'm going to get rid of the y just because it's going to end up being a little bit smaller numbers. And I know that only because I've been doing this for so long. Okay. So I have a 2 and a 3. I need to find a common multiple, right? Like a least common denominator. Well, I know that they both go into 6. How am I going to get 2 to be the 6? Well, I have to multiply that by a 3. This equation, in order to get to 6, I have to multiply it by a 2. Because these are both positive, one of these is going to have to end up being a negative. And again, it doesn't matter which one. I'm going to just do the smaller one. All right, so let's do this. I have to multiply everything by 3. So 4x times 3 is 12x. 2 times 2y times 3 is 6y. 8 times 3 is 24. Now I'm going to do the other one, but this time I'm multiplying by a -2. So -2 gets multiplied by everything here. -2 times 3 is -6x. -2 times 3 is -6y. -2 times 9 is -18. So now I have, in front of my y's, I have the same coefficient, opposite signs. So I can add those together and eliminate the y's. 12x and -6x is 6x. Y's are going to cancel. 24 and -18 is 6. Divide both by 6, and we get x is 1. Now that I know x, I can go back in and figure out what y is. Pick either of the equations. This one, just to make it interesting, I'm going to pick the bottom. I know, I threw you off there, didn't I? So 3 times 1 plus 3y equals 9. So 3 times 1 is 3. So to get y by itself, I have to subtract 3 from both sides. 3y equals 6. Divide by 3, and you get y equals 2. So 1, 2 is the solution to that problem. All right. Do I want to do the next one? All right, we'll do the next one. So when I look at letter D, again, I have a 5 and a 2, a 3 and a 5 are my coefficients. Because these, the y's, already have opposite signs, I'm going to pick to eliminate the y, because then I don't have to worry about multiplying by a negative because one of them's already negative. So the least common multiple for 3 and 5 is going to be 15. So to get to 15, I have to multiply this one by 5. To get to 15, I have to multiply this one by 3. Right? Because I need them to have the same coefficient. They already have opposite signs, so that was kind of nice. So I'm going to multiply the top equation, everything, by 5. So 25x minus 15y equals 30. Bottom equation gets multiplied by 3, so that's 6x plus 15y equals -30. All right, so let's see what happens here. Add them together, and we're going to get 31x. 15s are going to cancel, equals 0. So remember, these are really points on a graph, and you can have 0 as one of your values. So x equals 0. Then I'm going to pick one of my equations. Again, it doesn't matter which one, and I'm going to put in 0 for x. Okay, well, I'm going to start with the original top equation. So 5 times 0 is 0, so I'm just going to not even bother writing that part. Divide everything by -3, and we know y is -2. So the point of intersection is 0, -2. All right, there's some word problems, but we're going to save those to do together in class. So any questions, bring them with you. Have a good night, guys.